Okay, it looks like we have some people starting to join us. Okay, wow, all right, the participant list is climbing. This is great. Awesome. I'm just gonna wait another few seconds here until it starts to stop climbing so much, and then we'll get started. Okay, so welcome everybody. Y'all are here for the Housing and Residence Life virtual question and answer panel. First of all, congratulations on your admission to Tulane. We're so excited for y'all. And we have a really great session planned here for you with all the awesome staff and some students over at Housing and Residence Life. We will get started with an introduction from the director. We'll also do a tour of a model dorm room. We'll talk about different residential programs, residential learning communities, and community development. We'll talk a little bit about application and logistics of housing and how that works. And then we will answer your questions. So in order to do the questions, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen that you should be able to see. So start typing your questions in there, and we will answer all those questions at the end. For the most part, we'll try to answer them throughout as well. And after that, hopefully y'all will have a good idea of more about housing and residence life here at Tulane. So without further ado, I'm going to let Tim Lampert, the Director of Housing, take over to start off this information session. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Jill. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tim Lampert. I do serve as the Director of Housing and Residence Life here at Tulane. I first just want to thank my colleagues for helping out with this webinar. Kyle Rice, Assistant Director of Assignments, Marketing, and Communications, Alicia Lewis, Associate Director for Housing Operations, Matthew Tombaugh, Associate Director for Residence Life, and Dr. Brian Johnson, Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs, and Kritika Sharma, Senior in the School of Liberal Arts. Together, it's my hope that we can assist and answer any questions that you might have about applying for housing in the fall semester and give you an insight as to what it's like to live in the residence halls here at Tulane. During our time together, our plans to talk with you for a few minutes about a number of the topics that Jill just shared, and then we're going to open it up for some questions. One of the first things that we're going to do is to get you into one of the residence halls virtually so you can get a sense of what our student rooms might look like. But before we get started, just a couple of general notes. I get to work with Housing and Residence Life team that supports about 4,100 undergraduate students on campus who all live in the residence halls. The residence halls are really a place where you're going to spend likely the majority of the time that you're here on campus. And so it's our team's responsibility to help make sure that it's a terrific experience for you. The Housing and Residence Life staff fosters communities where you'll live and learn and grow together with your fellow classmates. And I'm thrilled that you're going to spend some time with us this afternoon and this evening to get a sense of what we're all about, and hoping that we'll get to see you here on campus in a few short months. So as I mentioned, we have some terrific folks here to answer your questions, and I think we're ready to get started really with the tour. So with that, I'll hand it over to Kritika.
Hey. Hi, everyone. My name is Kritika Sharma. I am a senior studying anthropology and gender studies at Tulane. I am from New Delhi, India, and I will be graduating in May. Today, I'm going to show you around Patterson Hall, which is one of our 13 residence halls at Tulane. As you can see behind me, this is the common area of Patterson Hall. One of the best things about our residence hall is that there's a lot of common spaces for students to interact with each other, for them to bond with each other, and there's a lot of activities that students can do to bond with each other. One of my favorite ones is definitely the pool table. We have that almost in every residence hall. 3 of the residence hall also has piano, so if you like playing music, you have a lot to do. Residence halls also have kitchens, so if you do like cooking, you can do that with your friends. I remember freshman year, we used to bake a lot. We're gonna go over and I will show you a room. We also have vending machines in residence hall, so if you want a snack, fear no more. You will always find them. Before I show you the room, I do want to talk about Patterson Hall and the structure of this residence hall. Patterson Hall is a communal style residential hall, which means that it has a big bathroom and everyone on the floor uses that same big bathroom. It is a more typical college style residence hall where you will be brushing with your suite mates, roommates, and people on your floor. I used to live in a communal style residence hall 2 years ago. It was the best thing because I made a lot of friends just by brushing teeth with them side by side. As I mentioned, Patterson Hall also has free laundry, which is the case with every of our residence halls. So all you need is your clothes and detergent and you're all set. We have laundry rooms in Patterson right next to the kitchen. We also have a bathroom on this floor on this side where I'm pointing at. And as for the room, I'm going to show that to you in just about a second. Also, when I'm going to show you the room, I'm going to switch out of this mic and camera and go to another one. So hang tight, I will see you on the other side.
Okay, everyone able to see me? Great. Okay, so this is Patterson Hall. This is the very typical room in Patterson Hall. We call it the model dorm room. Every room on campus will come with 2 beds if it's a double. Most of our rooms are doubles, so you will have 2 beds. Each student will also get a dresser. They will get a study table, a chair, and either a closet space or a physical closet itself. Patterson also has sinks in their room, so you don't have to go out to brush your teeth, which also is convenient. One of my favorite things about residence halls at Tulane is that we have a micro fridge in the room, so if you want to make mac and cheese at midnight, you can do that. It's a very good way to store food. It's a very good way to have food when you're hungry. You don't have to go to the dining hall all the time. And they are very spacious. I will say we are on the better end in terms of having space in residence halls. About 13 of our residence halls out of the 14 are have doubles and singles. Most of them are doubles, as I mentioned before. There are very few singles, and then Wall Residence Hall is the only one with a triple. I used to live in that. I made a lot of friends through it. Residence halls are a good way of finding your friends. My best friends at Tulane were the ones that I lived with my freshman year. So it's a very good time, especially when you're living in a residence hall. It builds community. It also, you learn a lot about yourself and about your habits. That being said, I am actually going to end the tour of the room here. If you look around, our camera is set up in a way that you can see each of the things I talk about. So you should be able to see the closet, the bed behind me, next to me. You can see the sink on the other side with a mirror and the micro fridge on that side. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask them in our Q&A session at the end of this whole session. And I'm going to pass it over to Matthew, who is the Associate Director of Residence Life, and who will talk to you about residential learning communities and community development.
Thank you, Kritika. Hi, everyone. We're so sorry we can't be with you here on campus, but we're not doing a tour of my section, but I do have a photo of Wall Hall, our freshman honors community behind me. There's a lot of variety of campus opportunities for the residential spaces, the style of the community, the types of communities within them, whether that's from the residential learning communities, the staff initiatives that are happening, that we hope everyone finds a home wherever they may be on campus. So a couple things I want to talk a little bit about living on campus. We do feel that the residential experience is really the heart of a lot of the things that happen at Tulane. We have 4,000 students living on campus, which is a pretty large percentage. And so the heartbeat, the things that are happening are often found in the halls. As Kritika mentioned, there's a lot of communal spaces, and actually Kritika is not only an outstanding senior, but one of our graduating RAs. So we have a variety of staff in the communities, our resident advisors, our students, upper class or upper division students typically, who are helping out with students in the halls. We have 122 in all of our different communities. So they'll be checking in with students individually. They'll be holding floor activities for meetings and looking for ways to engage folks. They're supervised by our resident directors, who are our full-time masters holding professional staff who live on campus. So they're not only overseeing the activities of the RAs, but they're also available as a resource to our residents through activity planning, working with our student leadership initiatives such as community government, Residence Hall Association, which is our version of student government within the residence halls, and a great way to get involved. Additionally, we try to connect to the academic mission of the institution. So we have a variety of ways that we try to do that. You may have heard about our residential learning communities. We have 8. The brand new one for next year, slated to come online, is Current, which is for freshmen, women who are interested in the STEM careers. That one is being housed in Josephine Louise Hall, one of our more historic all-female communities. And so we always encourage folks to take a look at the different lists of RLCs. We'll talk a little bit about the application and some of the logistical side of things. But again, I think there's a different way to make a home, whether that's in a formal program like an RLC or through some other pieces. For those who live in communities or may not be in RLCs, we also have residential faculty mentors, RFMs, who are paired with different buildings. So these are a resource to everyone in the community. So they're faculty who will be either visible in the front lobby area to check in through office hours. They'll be holding events and other pieces. And additionally, we do have faculty and residents in 3 of our communities, including Wall, for our Freshman Hall, where these are live-in faculty who are available for one-to-one engagement, mentorship, or also putting on different programs as well. Overall, with the staff, there's a lot that's happening. We do try to find a way to connect with everyone. We hope that you will consider how you want to be involved and make your mark on Tulane. With living on campus for the first 2 years, it is a major part of the residential experience, and the Residence Life team is a pretty large and cohesive group that we're hopefully here to help make that experience as good as we possibly can. So I see there's questions popping up, and we'll save some of them towards the end. But for right now, I'm going to pass it along to Kyle Rice from the operations team.
Hi everyone, my name is Kyle Rice and I'm our Assistant Director for Assignments, Marketing and Communications for Housing and Residence Life. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the freshman housing application. So, first of all, welcome on your admission, congratulations on your admission to Tulane. We're very excited for you and we can't wait to see you on campus this fall. So the first step of applying for housing for next year is paying your housing deposit. When you pay your housing deposit in the same place that you pay your Tulane commitment deposit, that is what triggers your access to our housing portal. Once you pay your housing deposit, it'll take about 2 to 3 business days before you have access to the housing portal. So that's when you should be able to log into our system. You can access the housing portal from your Gibson online or from our webpage at housing.tulane.edu. And the housing portal is kind of your home for all of your applications. And then once you're a student on campus, you'll use it for some other things such as lockout requests and other official things that you'll do with Housing and Residence Life. So the housing application is available for students now. You may begin applying. That housing application will remain available until May 8th. That is the deadline to apply for housing. That is also the deadline for which you will want to apply for the residential learning communities that you may be applying for. My recommendation to students is to give yourself plenty of time to apply for the RLCs. That application is a short essay answer process, and you won't want to rush those because that is the basis for your admission into the RLC. After you apply for housing on May 8th, that's it for your housing process for just a little bit of time. And then we will reopen your housing application in June for you to request a roommate. That portion comes a little bit later because at that time, students that have been accepted into RLCs will be able to see other students that have been accepted into the same RLC so that they can pair as roommates. You can pair as roommates in a couple different ways. If you know of a person you want to live with, you all will be able to search for each other and then mutually pair as roommates. But if you're not sure who you want to live with and you want to explore roommate options, our housing portal also has a tool that will provide you with recommendations based on your answers to our roommate questionnaire of who you might be most compatible with. It will also let you search for roommates based on different answers to that questionnaire and give you names of students so that you can contact each other either through our housing portal or via social media outside of the housing portal. And then you can go back and request each other. The roommate request process will be available from June 4th to June 15th. And that is when you will mutually request your roommates. Students looking to live in triple rooms, if they're accepted into the Honors RLC, will be able to request 2 roommates. Once the roommate request process has closed, that is all that you need to do in terms of your application. Students will be notified by mid-July as to their housing assignment, and that will include their room number, their community, and that will also include their roommate information as well as their email so that they may, you may begin contacting each other and meet each other prior to moving on campus. One other thing I just wanted to let you know, we're so happy that you got a chance to see our model room, but you can also check out all of our communities on our website at housing.tulane.edu. On the Our Communities page, you have the ability to click into every community and see a 360-degree room photo that you can scroll around and take a look at different features. And that webpage also kind of details the amenities of each of our communities, as well as some of the things that are special about those places to live. If you have more questions that we haven't answered regarding the housing application process, please feel free to put them in the question and answer box below. And now I will turn it over to my colleague, Alicia Lewis.
Alicia, you're muted.
I am muted. I just saw that. I apologize.
No worries.
So let's start again. Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Lewis. I'm the Associate Director for Housing Operations. Welcome to the Tulane family. And I just want to tell you a little bit about what move-in day is going to look like. Kyle mentioned it before. Our first year move-in day is Wednesday, August 19th. It is a full-on day. We start at about 8 o'clock in the morning and we go till about 6 o'clock in the evening. But we throw a ton of help your way. You come up in your car and all of these volunteers run up to your vehicle, and I think the best record is about 30 seconds to unload a car. So we put a lot into making sure you get onto campus in a good fashion and you get all your stuff out of your car and up to your room. So we provide a lot of help and assistance. We get a lot of upperclassmen who come in to volunteer and help, as well as some staff and faculty from around the university. In order to accomplish that, we do issue time slots to students. Right around mid-July, we'll send you out what your time slot will be to move into your room, again, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And an additional service we offer that we started last year that we were able to do all of our first year billings was to be able to give you information to send packages to campus that will be put into your room ahead of time. So that cuts down on the amount of stuff you need to bring to campus on move-in day. Move-in day is one of my favorite days of the entire academic year because everybody's so excited, everybody's having a great time. And again, we work really hard to make sure you have a smooth, easy move-in process. So we look forward to seeing you in August on the 19th. If you have any questions about move-in or any of the buildings, please feel free to add it to the Q&A. And I will pass it along to Dr. Brian Johnson. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. It's a pleasure to meet you out there. I'm so excited that you joined us. You'll see behind me, the back shot screen is McAllister Avenue, right on campus, right in the heart of campus by the LBC. So I chose that today because, number one, during the academic year when our students are here, That place is on fire with students passing each other, talking about what's happening on campus, student organizations out there meeting and chatting with each other and trying to recruit members and doing all those things. The couple big things I want to talk about regarding housing for you. My colleagues have done a great job of kind of giving you a taste of what Tulane housing is all about, but there's a couple things that I think are most important also that I want to reiterate. First, at Tulane is probably one of the most social, connected community of students that I've ever had the privilege of working with. I've worked at 5 institutions throughout the United States, but our Tulane students have a way of making connections like no other. And I think in part that they always tell me how important their first year of living on campus is and making friendships and getting involved on campus, student activities, learning from their friends on their floor, their RAs, getting involved in student government and in Greek life and all the wonderful things we have to offer here. So there's one thing that you should know if you choose to come to Tulane, and you should, is number one, we're all about making connections. Number two, like Tulane is one of the most social, friendship-based places that you could possibly imagine to have a student experience. Our students make so many wonderful connections with each other, and they push each other to excel academically. In and out of the classroom, they work together on a lot of projects, and they do a lot of amazing things, and not limited to and including community service. The last thing I would stress to you as you make your decision to choose where you're going to go to college is, Tulane is in New Orleans. It's a beautiful city, but Tulane is on the rise. Our institution is fantastic. We have some of the top-rated faculty in the country, but we have some of the top-rated students in the country. And our students are engaged in their academic pursuits. They're engaged and they're passionate about Tulane. At Tulane, you will see 90% of the student body wearing Tulane paraphernalia, shirts, T-shirts, book bags. Everybody at Tulane is wearing Tulane gear, and the reason is we love Tulane, and our students love Tulane. So I hope that all of you, as you consider your next college home, really think hard about joining us at Tulane. We'd love to have you. I know it's a big decision. I hope we can answer some of your questions. So I'm going to stop talking and start asking some of my colleagues to dive in on your questions. Thanks again for joining us.
Okay, so at this point, we'll join the rest of the housing and residence, or ask the rest of the housing and residence life staff to join us. And I believe Brian, who has generously offered to be the MC of all the questions y'all have submitted here. Looks like we have over 200 questions and growing, as I mentioned in the chat. Really appreciate all your questions. It's highly unlikely that we're able to answer all 200 of them in the next 40 minutes, but we will do our best. For the ones that we don't answer, we'll definitely connect you all later on with the resources that you need to get those questions answered. But with that being said, I'll let Brian take it away, and let's start answering some of these questions. Thanks, y'all.
All right, so the first question out of the gate is, how do living learning communities work? Matthew, can you take that one?
Sure thing. So our living learning communities have a separate application, which Kyle or Alicia will be able to talk a little bit more about how that fits into the overall application. But this is a smaller cohort of students that are paired with either faculty or campus partners. And so they have additional programming that occurs outside of the halls. There's often field trips or special events designed for that particular group. Oftentimes they are clustered together as well in a single community floor or a couple of different floors, depending on the breakdown of gender and other pieces. And the campus partners help review the applications for the residential learning communities to determine who is accepted into those groups.
All right, thank you, Matthew. All right, Kyle, will you answer the question, do freshmen have any say in which dorm they're in, and if they're not doing an RLC?
Great question. So at Tulane, students are welcome to apply for our residential learning communities, which are often associated with specific communities. If students that are not applying for RLCs have the opportunity to preference a double, single, or triple room, but we do not do specific building preferences. Students will be assigned to one of our many freshman residential communities, which are very, very similar in nature. Although they do have their unique qualities, all of them are comprised of freshman students from around the country, and you're likely to have a very, very similar freshman experience regardless of which community you're assigned to live.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Alicia, can you answer the question, when the housing portal's open, when is it going to open? How long is it going to be open? And how do they gain access to get in there and complete their housing application?
The housing portal is always open for the most part. So you gain access to the application by paying your housing deposit. As Kyle mentioned, it takes a few days for it to work its way through our systems and end up on our list so we can give you access to it. But once you pay your housing deposit, 2-3 days later, you'll be able to go into the housing portal. You can find the housing portal by going to our housing website, housing.tulane.edu. And once you click into it, you would use your credentials that you use to log into Gibson to log into the housing portal to fill out an application. If you have any problems doing that, please drop us an email and let us know, and it's housing@tulane.edu.
Thank you. Kyle, coming at you with, when is the best time to apply for housing?
So the housing application, as well as the supplemental residential learning community applications, will be due on May 8th. What's most important is to apply on time. All students that apply by the housing application deadline will be given the same consideration.
All right. Hey, Tim, can you talk about when the best time is to meet roommates and how our students go about doing that process outside of maybe the Facebook group, or what the experience has been over the past few years around how our students select roommates?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say a few things about that. So to start, I've seen a few questions in the chat, right, where folks are asking, well, what do I do? Do I select another roommate, or maybe I feel like I should let Tulane select a roommate for me? And the reality is, my experience has been that about half of our students let Tulane select a roommate for you, and about half select a mutual roommate. And so I don't know that there's a right answer to that, other than to say what's the right answer for you. So what I will tell you, though, is that if we're going to if you select a random roommate, if you will, it's not entirely random from the standpoint, we're going to ask you in your housing application to answer some questions about your lifestyle, like, do you tend to go to bed early? Do you tend to go to bed late? How do you hope to use your room for studying mostly, or socializing, or what have you? And sort of all these questions we'll look at on your housing application, and do our best to match you with somebody who has a similar approach to those questions, right? So that you might be a compatible roommate. That's really, I think, what I would suggest that you do, whether it's going with a random roommate, if you will, or you're selecting somebody yourself, is to really think about what it is you want that roommate relationship to be like, and make sure that you're compatible in that way, and don't necessarily just go based on what folks have posted on Facebook, because I'll be honest, I don't know that everybody who posts something on Facebook, if that's always the best representation of what they're going to be like while they're here in school. And so I do encourage you to just to really think about that compatibility side of things, as opposed to just somebody that you might have met once. Think about sort of that compatibility.
All right, thank you, Tim. Hey, Kyle, can you answer the question about how do the process of students selecting their top 3 preferences for residence halls, maybe give them a sense of what the percentages have been over the past few years of the odds of getting their first, second, third choice, and walk them through that piece?
Sure. So students at Tulane have the ability to preference the type of room that they live in, a single, a double, or a triple. In most cases, majority of cases, we are able to honor those requests. So that is done via your housing application. There will be a place that asks you to rank your preference of your room types. And you'll do that, I believe it's the 3rd or 4th page of your housing application. Additionally, for students that are applying for residential learning communities, there will be a section within that application where you can rank the communities that you're most interested in living in. And then you will be able to fill out the subsequent essay questions for those specific learning communities. And your preferences will be taken into account when learning community assignments are made.
Thanks, Kyle. So this is, I think, a good question. So I'm going to take a stab with Tim jumping in here with me. What are some common things incoming freshmen seem to forget to bring, which they wish they had remembered to bring? And what are some necessities students don't think about to bring at first off? Well, I can tell you right out of the gate, like in New Orleans, you don't need to bring UGG boots or any jackets for like the first 6 months of school. But in all seriousness, you know, we have a nice list on our housing website that the team's put together on the necessities. And all these folks on this call, on this chat here can chime in here. But most of the time, I think our students overpack and overthink about all the things they need to bring. And to be candid, you know, once you get down to Tulane and in New Orleans and the weather's nice and to wear t-shirts and shorts all day, every day, 9 months a year, you quickly realize you don't need probably half the things you brought from home. But to answer like necessities that students think that they don't bring at first, Tim, any thoughts there? Matthew?
I'll jump in with one. The weather on all of our admission brochures and photos and so on is beautiful, but it rains here, and it seems like students never remember to bring an umbrella with them. And the reality is we get a little bit of rain almost every day, just for a little bit, and then it clears up, and then the weather's beautiful again. But when it rains, it comes down. So bring an umbrella.
For my part, I think it's just really about communication with your potential new roommate to make sure that you are not doubling up. We often see a lot of things showing up, and then we see those same things not necessarily being used through the year or being left behind. And so really being thoughtful that you can always bring more, but make sure you're talking to potential roommates.
I think the final thing I'd add is we do this program with our first year students, ship to room, where our students can ship boxes to Tulane with you know, your stuff from home, and you show up on campus and those boxes are in your room and you're ready to go. So I think the thing to note is that, you know, we do that, number one, to speed up the process, but number two, to also allow for you and your family to like have a smooth experience, and to maybe not bring like the whole kitchen sink from your house. And, you know, be conservative in what you bring to college. You can always order stuff on Amazon. We have Amazon lockers on campus, so our students are well aware of how to order things and get stuff done that way. So I would start out light and then, you know, grow into what you might need. So
I'll
hey,
throw one thing out to
go ahead, Tim.
Sorry, I was just going to say one thing you don't need to bring, which is kind of a nice thing. We answered it in the chat as well. Each student room comes with a micro fridge combination, so a microwave and refrigerator combination. So that's one thing you will not ever have to worry about lugging up to the elevator or what have you. Each room comes with that already.
Good point. Hey, Alicia, can you answer what residence halls are our first year student residence halls?
Okay, unmuted. Let's see if I can remember them all. Josephine Louise, which is our all-female community. Butler, Sharp, Monroe, Wall. And there are first-year students in Warren as well as Patterson. Did I get it all? Yes?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you. Hey, Kyle, can you talk about when students will find out typically the residence hall they're assigned to?
Yeah, you'll want to check your emails, your Tulane email in early to mid-July for that information. that will contain the community that you're assigned to, your specific room number, the name of your roommate or roommates, as well as their Tulane email address so that you can begin communication.
All right. So, Matthew, can you talk about what it's like those first few weeks for students living in the halls? You know, what they can expect from their RA. You know, when will they get to know their RA? How do they connect with some programs? Give them a flavor of that.
Sure. So opening week is very busy and a highlight for most folks. There's a lot of things happening on campus, and oftentimes RAs are helping to facilitate and take folks to those things. Kritika might be able to jump in with some favorites, but we often do like a hall cheer. We do floor meetings. We're doing things in the halls to recognize and get to know each other around. And we're also trying to set up some expectations of what does it look like to live with this person. Let's have a conversation with your new roommate. Let's have a floor activity, a hall-wide activity, something with the FIRs, the RFMs, the other campus partners. And so there's a lot of outreach. Kritika, do you have a favorite activity that you would often do with your residents?
Yeah, I think my favorite one is definitely the hall cheer. This is something that I will say all the RAs take very, very, it's very important to us just because it's one of the first things that we do when we come back for training earlier than all of the people. It happens on the very first night you move in, and it's a very good time to not only meet your RAs, but also your floor, the people who will be living in your floor. And the reason it's very good is because it builds community from the very first moment you step on campus, just because it's a competition. There will be one residential hall that wins that competition, and I will be honest, it does bring out the competitive side of all of the RAs because we're very passionate about like having all of our residents win. But it's also one of the very first kind of interaction that you get with your resident advisor, just because right before you head for this event, you have a welcome meeting with your RAs. So this is the first point of contact. I remember this is my third year as an RA. Over the last 3 years, every time I walked with my floor to this event, it was like I came to know about their names. I heard about their summer stories. It's just like getting to know them, and that's the very first point. So by far my favorite thing, and I will miss it a lot.
All right, thank you. Alicia, can you talk about like the flooring in the residence halls? Do we have carpet, vinyl tile, wood, and also do we have heat and air conditioning in all the residence halls?
We definitely have heat and air conditioning, especially air conditioning. Your first couple of months down here in New Orleans are going to be a little hot. But yes, definitely heat and air conditioning in every single building and every single room. Most of our first year buildings actually have carpeting. Wall is the exception to carpeting in our first year buildings. That's the only building that does not have carpet in the rooms, but all of our other first year buildings do have carpeting.
Thank you, Alicia. Hey, Tim, what happens if I have trouble sleeping and studying with noise in a residence hall? Are there louder residence halls and quieter residence halls? Can you talk through that?
I can. So, yeah. So I'll say this, right? I think that I get this question a lot, right? Are there residence halls that are historically, really quiet, or historically better for studying, or historically better for socializing, and so on and so forth? And while I've heard over the years that there are some perceptions on that, the reality is I don't know that that there's a building that's a loud building or a building that's a really quiet building. Ultimately speaking, right? I think each year the students who make up that individual community help to drive what the experience is for those students on that floor and in that community. And the reality is, I think, Matthew talked earlier about our resident advisors being a tremendous resource to help students to set those community expectations at the beginning of the year. And what is it that we expect of one another? And what is it that we expect of our community? And so I would say certainly our RAs are a terrific resource in the event that you're having a difficult time, whether it's around sleeping or studying or what have you. The other thing, though, I will say is that for our first year students, as they come onto campus the first time, it's all new, right? And I think that there's a level of an adjustment period that anybody's going to have when they come to a new place. But we're going to be there to support you along the way, and to provide any guidance or support.
Thank you, Tim. Kyle, does a roommate you pick have to be in your RLC?
Great question. So students that are accepted into the RLC will have the ability to roommate pair with any other student that has also been accepted into that RLC. But yes, students will roommate pair with other students from the same residential learning community. This is for all of our residential learning communities, including the honors community, which I know a number of students have asked about in the chat. Non-honors students are welcome to apply for that community. However, preference will be given to students that are admitted into the honors program to live within that community.
Kyle, how common is it to get a single as a first-year student?
That's a really good question. The past couple years, our demand for single rooms has not exceeded the amount of single rooms we have had. So historically, students have been able to get single rooms. However, that could always change. If every single Tulane incoming student requested a single this year, well, they won't all be getting them, unfortunately.
All right, thank you. Hey, Alicia, do we have bunk beds in Wall?
We do have bunk beds in Wall. We usually bunk them before students arrive. Students get creative. I think residence hall furniture is almost like Lego. You can kind of build and move things around, and students get really creative with their setups. But yes, there are bunk beds in Wall in our triple rooms and some of our double rooms as well. So yes, you are able to bunk your beds in Wall because the ceilings are really tall.
Thank you. Hey, Tim, are the floors co-ed or does it alternate by floor? Can you walk students through that?
Yeah, it varies by building, actually. So in some of our residence halls are single gender. Some of our residence hall floors are co-ed. And so it really depends on that individual community. I can tell you that off the top of my head, in Wall, for example, in our suite style community, it is all genders in each of those individual floors. In some of our traditional style buildings, that's where we have sort of more of a mix of co-ed floors and single gender floors.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so hey, Matthew, let's you and I talk about the dining options and food options for students that live on campus. Can you talk to them a little bit about what your thoughts are around that, and I'll fill in the blanks.
Okay. There's a variety of food options on campus. Of course, most folks are familiar, if you've been on campus the past year, with the brand new $55 million dining facility known as the Commons, which is very popular and offers a lot of variety, not only with individualized meal options, attending to dietary restrictions, etc. But that is really a main hub for our activities. So depending on your meal plan, you have the opportunities to not only eat there, but also at a variety of vendors on campus. PJ's Coffee, local, is here as well as a valued partner. And there's additional food service court and other places within the LBC and other places. We also have even food trucks that you can use your meal plan at. Vietnamese food and others are a popular option as well. So most of the time there's always a way to find some food if you need it, and people do, as it is a popular part of the college experience.
And one of the other cool things, Tulane has a partnership with Loyola University. So our students also can go to Loyola and eat at their food court in their dining hall, and of course they have Starbucks. So there's some bleed over there. Our students go there sometimes as well. So there are a ton of on-campus dining options that are really good. Thank you, Matthew, for answering that. Hey, Tim, I threw you the most random question we have, which I think is an interesting one. Can we bring a wax melter into the dorms and it automatically turns off and it's electric?
Yeah, so
I think I've never got that question, so that's why I threw it out there.
I don't think that I've gotten that question before, but I think that would be a great thing to keep at home. Frankly, I think that when it comes to candles and so on, frankly, I think that's one to leave at home. As far as other small appliances, you can certainly check out our website too, and it'll kind of go through the list of things that you can or can't bring. I know students, another one that comes up is coffee makers or coffee pots or what have you, which is fine. But the reality is, I'd leave all candle related things at home, instead of bringing them to campus.
Hey, Tim, how about coffee makers?
Yeah, as an avid coffee drinker, I'm pleased to say that I think that's fine to bring into the residence halls.
All right. So, hey, Kyle, can you, or Matthew, can you answer what percentage of students live in RLCs?
Yeah, so I've been answering this individually with some of the questions that have come up, but Honors is our biggest RLC, which occupies almost exclusively Wall Hall. For the most part, though, the other 7 are much more smaller and focused in that typically they may range between about 15 to 25-ish people, depending on the size and availability. So don't let that deter you, however, from applying. If you see an RLC that you are interested and passionate about, please do fill out that additional application. We are always working with our partners to see how many can be accommodated each year based on their resources and teams, and so we encourage everyone to consider it.
Thank you, Matthew. Hey, Kyle, so I'm gonna let you give an in-depth run through one more time for our students for our potential students and future students here. Can you walk them through like how the roommate process works in the application, how that might interface with their choosing to be in a residential learning community, and how that impacts that piece as well? And there's a lot of questions folks have about that, so take your time.
Great question. So as a reminder, you're going to apply for housing in the residential learning communities by May 8th. Students will find out if they have been accepted into their residential learning communities and or which residential learning community they've been accepted into if they've applied for multiple ones towards the end of May. In June, on June 4th, between that date and June 15th, students will be able to go back into the housing portal to request their roommate. Students that have been accepted into an RLC will only be able to request roommates that have also been accepted into the same RLC. At that time, students can request a roommate. This can be somebody that you know that you want to live with. You would request them and they would confirm your request so that we have a mutual confirmation. For students that may not have an idea of who they want to live with, but would like to do a request instead of being assigned a roommate by housing, our housing portal will allow you to search for roommates. You can search for keywords in their bios. You can search by answers to particular questions in their roommate profile. Our system will also suggest for you a student that meets a high percentage of matching based on the questions that you've answered in your profile. And it'll say, hey, check out these folks as potential roommates. You can message those students through our system, or you can choose to message them offline by finding them on social media and messaging them that way. And then once you've met someone electronically that you think might be a good fit, you guys can mutually request each other within your housing application. You will find your roommate information out when you get your housing assignment in July. However, Housing and Residence Life does absolutely everything that it can to honor your roommate requests. We know that who you live with is far more likely to impact the experience that you have than what building you might be living in or what floor. So we will first try to honor roommate requests before other types of requests.
All right, thank you. Hey, Kritika, can you give us another view of the room and maybe a little more close up on some of the features in the room?
Yeah, I'm going to move this camera around, so follow me with it. Okay, so you can see the door, that's the entry point. Then this is the sink. Right next to the sink is our first bed. I'm going to move this way just so we can see. Okay, so that's our first bed. Since this room is a double, you can see both of the beds. And then we have a study table right here. So each room, if it's a double, will come with 2 study tables. As Tim mentioned before, we have a micro fridge, which is a mini fridge and a microwave. The dresser right behind me. I'm trying to navigate this very interesting room. Okay, so that dresser in the closet spaces, and as I mentioned before, the rooms will either have a physical closet, which is the case in Wall Residential College, or have closet spaces, which is more like the room right now that we're in. Okay, I'm gonna put this down, and the only difference that you will see in an actual room in this one is that this is decorated. The room that you will get is not decorated. Just to brief again, every student will have a bed, so a metal frame, you will get a mattress with it, you will also have a study table, a study chair, a dresser, a closet space, or an actual closet, and the room will come with a micro fridge.
All right, thank you, Kritika. Matthew, can you talk about why a student should consider being in an RLC and maybe what that experience means from a commitment level?
Sure. So we think it's one of the unique and special things about Tulane that there's such a small ratio for folks in their classroom settings and other places, but this really is being able to connect with faculty, with staff and campus partners from a variety of places. We have folks that are at the director level, VP level, lots of folks that you would be perhaps surprised with who are connected to the RLCs. And if you are an ambitious student or a student who is looking to connect about an issue of passion or other things, it really opens doors where folks have been involved and then are surprised with how it's opened up for folks. A quick example, I would mention the Squad RLC, one of our more recent in the last few years, and this is a partnership with the athletic department. And so folks were very excited to be on the sideline of some games. Folks from this group have then become interns or received recommendations and connections. And that's not atypical for a lot of folks who join the RLCs, that they go in because they have an interest in something and it has sparked a greater sense of passion or connections to the campus environment and beyond.
Hey, thank you, Matthew. Kyle, we've got a ton of questions around the Honors RLC program, the selection process and how that works. Can you take a little deep dive there about that Honors RLC?
Absolutely. So our Honors RLC community is one that students can apply for to live in. A really important thing to know is that if you're accepted into the honors program, that does not automatically mean that you will be placed to live in the honors RLC. It does require a supplemental application. And if you are an honors student and accepted into that program, you are not required to live in the honors RLC. You don't have to apply for that community, but you're welcome to. So anyone that wants to live within Wall Residence Hall in the freshman honors community should submit the supplemental application. The RLC application can be accessed from your housing application. You'll see a big link to it in the RLC section, and that will route you out of your housing application to the supplemental essay questions for the various RLCs. It's really important that you take your time in answering those questions, because that is a pretty large part of what determines who will be living in those various communities. Students are selected into the Honors RLC by our campus partners in the Honors program, who review your honors application materials. And for students who are accepted into the honors program, they will be provided preference into that community over any non-honors applicants. So any student that's accepted into the honors RLC will then have the ability to roommate pair with 1 to 2 people for who their roommates will be in Wall Residential College when they arrive to campus for the academic year. And additionally, I think another question about that community is that is one of our buildings that has a lot of triple rooms. And the reason for that is because the rooms in that building are large enough to accommodate that. So students living in triple rooms in Wall have a room with the same square footage per student that you would find in double rooms in many of our other communities. And you have the same kind of furniture, a bed, a dresser, a desk as students in any other community as well. There is a chance that you could preference a double room but be placed into a triple room and Wall. Although we do try to fill the triple rooms first with students that request those triple rooms. And students that are living in triple rooms do have a different room rate. So that's one incentive for living in a triple room. And all of our suites in Wall are suite style, meaning that there's a room connected to a bathroom, connected to another room in most cases. And in your room, you have a vanity and a sink, but in that bathroom, you have a toilet and a shower that's shared with the other room. And your suite could have anywhere from 3 to 6 people that share that facility.
All right, thank you, Kyle. So, Tim, why don't you talk about like the fundamentals of our housing program and what makes, Tulane living on campus so different and special and makes a difference in the lives of students?
I love that. So, I mean, the reality is this, like, I can't imagine a better way. There is no better way to acclimate yourself to a campus culture than to live in the residence halls on campus. Tulane, we have a 2-year residency requirement, which basically means we ask all students to live on campus for their first 2 years. And the reality is those are some of the most impactful opportunities that you have to engage with students and to engage in this community in really unique and meaningful ways. One of the things that we talk about in Housing and Residence Life a lot is that, and I mentioned this in my opening remarks, that we create residential communities for you and your other students to live and to learn and to grow. And we try to integrate those concepts into all that we do. And the reality is that all the work that we do around residential learning communities, our work with faculty in the residence halls, all tie back to that. The residential curriculum that our Residence Life team puts together to help support that, support you in your academic pursuits. Housing and Residence Life here, our purpose, right, is to help support the academic mission of the university and to help create an environment for you to be successful. And everything that we do is really intentional to support that. So I can't think of a better place, frankly, to come than Tulane that is all in with regards to its connections to faculty and connections to support you as a whole student, as a well-rounded student on campus.
Hey, so I think we're almost out of time, but I'll just wrap this up by saying thank you for joining us today. We really hope to see you in the fall. We have a special thing going on at Tulane. We have the best students in the country. I think we have some of the best school spirit in the country, and we are in a special place like no other in the United States. So I hope you've learned something today, and we hope maybe we'll do this again in the next few weeks to keep answering your questions. Thank you to my colleagues and for the admissions team for having this today and being here doing this. And we really, really hope that you think long and hard about joining Tulane. And we'll end with Roll Wave. Thanks, everyone.